Kobe.
And on the cool check-in.
Together, we are Jalen and Jacoby. What do we do, Jalen Rose?
We get a people what they want.
Jalen Rose, the people did not get what they wanted when they watched the Super Bowl last night. That was not an entertaining football contest by any means, at all. But instead of focusing on how boring it was, I want to focus on this. Jalen, answer me this question. What in the world is going on with Todd Gurley, and why didn't he get the ball?
He's clearly dealing with an injury. He missed the final 2 games of the regular season. They pick up C.J. Anderson. He was limited in the championship game, and he was obviously limited in the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure that's the reason why he didn't get a heavy dose of the football these last couple of weeks. Think about it like this. I talk so much about loving 3 down backs. Saquon Barkley comes to mind. Ezekiel Elliott. He's probably the creme de la creme, along with Le'Veon Bell. So for him not to be getting multiple touches, especially in the biggest game of the season, is a signal to me that he's dealing with an injury.
So I thought he was dealing with an injury after the NFC Championship game when he only touched the ball a few times. But the reason I thought they were telling everybody that he was healthy because they forced the Patriots to prepare for him. However, I figured after the Super Bowl was over and there was no other games this season, we'd hear something about some sort of nagging injury. But here is Todd Gurley after the game not talking about being injured.
I mean, I kind of had a break low-key the last 2 months, so it's cool. I mean, you know, we do the physicals and all that stuff tomorrow, but I'm fine, though.
He later said that he felt great. He kind of downplayed the fact that he was injured at all, and they asked about him needing a break after the season. He said, low-key, I've had a break the last couple months. Jalen, is there a chance that he's really not injured and they actually preferred running C.J. Anderson instead of potential MVP candidate Todd Gurley?
Not at all. He clearly acknowledged that he has to get a physical tomorrow. Don't let that part get lost in his commentary. And again, he's a bell cow. Him running the football is what unlocks their offense. Cooks did catch for over 100 yards, but Goff needs that play action. Todd Gurley was not going to be that guy to get 30 touches in the Super Bowl. That doesn't give them their best chance to win. He clearly was not healthy.
So what else, aside from Todd Gurley's health, kept this team to only 3 points? What did Belichick and the Patriots do to limit this high-powered offense to 3 points?
Well, a couple of things. And by the way, you want to give the Patriots all the credit in the world, don't get me wrong. But again, they had chances to score. Jared Goff, Cook was wide open in the end zone. He took too long to throw the ball. And by the time he threw it to him, the defense recovered and knocked it down. Cook also had a chance for a big catch at the goal line in the 4th quarter. He dropped the football. So they had chances to get on the board with a touchdown. They just were not able to execute when it mattered the most.
So I now want to turn our attention to a gentleman by the name of Julian Edelman. I don't think anyone on the Rams was familiar with Julian Edelman because they just did not cover him. You heard Tony Romo always saying, well, they're going to double him on this play, and then he comes open. And then Tony Romo again would be like, they're probably looking for Edelman here, and then he comes open. Edelman had a great game. He was named the MVP of the game. Do you think that Edelman deserved to be the most valuable player of the Super Bowl?
I think he does deserve to be the MVP. Here's why. Through the first 3 quarters, neither team had scored a touchdown. But if you had to dictate what individual defensively on either side of the football you would give the MVP to, it would be hard to find. You could say Gilmore, you could say Hightower, but at the end of the 3rd quarter, you would have probably given it to Cooks if the Rams had got it done, and probably would have given it to Edelman like the Patriots when they did get it done. So for him to catch 10 balls, 8 of them be for first downs, I think that was the difference, and that's why he got MVP.
He did get MVP. Did you find it a little funny that the MVP of the Super Bowl spent the first 4 games of the year suspended because of PED violations?
Oh, he's a TB12 lifer, no doubt about it. And the thing is, we don't care about PEDs in football. We care more about them in baseball because of the record books and the holy grail of people going by the numbers. But football is a physically violent sport. And for some reason, fans and media, we don't look at PED use in the NFL as serious as we should. We pay attention to the concussions and the opioids and all of the things that can harm your body. But at the same time, when a player gets suspended or gets punished for using PEDs, we don't really care. It almost might as well be a badge of honor because he comes right back, he plays well, and he ends up winning Super Bowl MVP.
That's a decent point. Well, the Super Bowl MVP, Julian Edelman, had something to say about his quarterback after the game, and he even brought up the real GOAT, Michael Jordan. Let's listen.
He's a GOAT. I mean, he's got the same number as Jordan now.
He's got the same number as Jordan now. I don't think he's talking about 23, the number on Jordan's back. I think he's talking about 6, the number of rings on Michael Jordan's hand. Did this game solidify Tom Brady as the greatest quarterback of all time, Bill Belichick as the greatest coach of all time, and the Patriots as the best dynasty in the history of football?
I didn't need this game to answer that question. Yes, it just further validates it. How they continue to be a chameleon type of a football team and reinvent itself defensively, in particular late in the season, going against high-powered offenses like the Chargers, the Chiefs, and in the Super Bowl versus the Rams. I want to make sure I acknowledge and give them all of the credit for the way they were able to put together a game plan. Bill Belichick did a terrific job of forcing the Rams to not only get out of running the ball, but they allowed Cooks to get his yards, but they shut off everybody else's water. So you got to give them a lot of credit. That late blitz is what got to Jared Goff, forced him to throw an uncontested interception pretty much. So being able to press the right buttons at the right time was the key. Now, the Rams defense was stout throughout. You have to give them a lot of credit. The difference was the Patriots stood up for 4 quarters and they didn't.
It's a good point. Now, it certainly did seem like Jared Goff was off his game. His youth seemed to be a little more apparent in this game than it had previously been in the season. And even Sean McVay, he was clearly out-coached, and he even mentioned as much after the game. Let's listen to Coach McVay.
They did a great job. It was a great game plan, and, no other way to say it, but I got out-coached tonight. I was not pleased at all with my feel for the flow of the game and kind of making some adjustments as the game unfolded and to giving ourselves a chance to have some success and put some points on the board. And, credit to them, and they did a good job, and I certainly didn't do good enough for us. But Todd is healthy, and, we just didn't really get a chance to get anybody going today offensively, and that starts with me.
So he said he was out-coached, which he clearly was. Anybody who watched the game knows that. But he also, do you see what else he said? He said Todd is healthy. He said Todd is healthy in the middle of a statement about being out-coached. I want to ask you about both those elements. Are you surprised he admits that he was out-coached? And why did he mention that Todd is healthy in the middle of his answer?
He acknowledged that he got out-coached because we all saw it. And there's no denying it. Now, as it relates to the Todd Gurley part, there's something that we used to do in Detroit when I grew up during the winter called shagging. When a vehicle was stopped at a stop sign or a yield sign or a light, and you run behind the car and you grab the back of the bumper and you ride the car for as far as you can up the block.
Okay, I'm glad that's what
I was trying to run across the street to do a shag one time, and all of a sudden, I was not paying attention, and I basically got hit by a car. And my friends always joke that I rolled up on the hood and said, I'm all right, knowing that my hip was killing me, my thigh was killing me, and my leg was really bothering me. This is what I feel about with Todd Gurley. We all know that he's a 30-touch type of player. For them not to use him high volume the last 2 weeks, when he missed the previous 2 weeks of the regular season because of a knee injury, clearly lets me know that there was an issue there.
I'm really glad that story was about cars, because when you started, I thought it was going to go in a completely different direction. Jalen Rose, this I find really interesting. Las Vegas does not have the Patriots as the favorites to win the Super Bowl next year. The sports books are now saying that the Kansas City Chiefs are the favorite to win the Super Bowl. After we see Brady and Belichick do this year and year and year after year and year and year, are you surprised that the Chiefs are starting as the favorites to win next year's Super Bowl?
I'm not surprised that the Chiefs are favored because they have a young upstart football team and they have the reigning MVP and Patrick Mahomes, who dazzled this season. But on paper, you got to look at it like this. The Patriots still have Belichick, they still have Brady, they still play in the AFC East. So they're going to get a chance to reinvent themselves as the season continues to happen. But ultimately, you can't pick against them. But also, a team just made 3 straight Super Bowls. I mean, they've made 9. They've won 6. So at some point, it is going to be somebody else's turn.
Well, Jalen Rose, I was not entertained by this game. And I will tell you 5 things that proved that this was the most boring Super Bowl that I've ever seen. That's next on Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen, I just want you to know what we call you behind your back. Derail Rebus.